What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name's CJ, and in today's video, we're going to be checking out PrizePicks and looking at the single stat player props they have over there. So that's real life points, assists, rebounds, and 3-point makes. Hopefully we land on some good picks. Yesterday's video went very well, in my opinion. We went 6 out of 8, so we had 6 successful picks come out of yesterday's video. I look to repeat that type of success today. So if you're not subscribed to the channel yet, please do, because there's about 49% of you that watch these videos that have not subscribed yet. And it's going to become more and more important that A, you're subscribed, and B, that you have notifications turned on for all of my videos. Now, why is this? Well, that's because we have about an hour, about a grace period of an hour after the video releases for you to go and lock in the picks that I discuss in these videos. So things definitely will change if you wait any longer than an hour. That's all I'm going to say. So definitely make sure you're subscribed. Definitely make sure that notifications are turned on. Now, yesterday, you guys smashed yesterday's like goal, so thank you very much for that. I knew you could do it. We're going to bump it up a little bit today. We're going to go 47.5 likes for today's goal. So if we could hit 48 or more likes, well, we're going to be A-okay. So I'm going to take the over on that 47.5 likes. Now, today's schedule is huge. We've got a massive NBA slate. We're talking 11 NBA games on the docket today. I'm not going to go into any injury news. All I'm going to say is that there's a lot of it and that you need to stay tuned in. Now, if you need to find a good source for NBA injury news and stuff like that, lineup news and announcements, well, down in the description of this video, I'll leave a link to our Discord community. Now, the Discord community has an NBA news feature where it just pumps in all the latest NBA news so you can stay up to date on all the happenings around the association. So without further ado, let's just get right into some of these props. Now, I've got 3 points props that I want to talk about. The first one's going to be DAngelo Russell, the point guard for the Minnesota Timberwolves. They're taking on the Detroit Pistons tonight at 7:10 p.m. Eastern time. That's over here on PrizePicks. So PrizePicks is typically about 10 minutes after the official tip-off time of 7 o'clock. So now that we know that, let's look at the game totals and the spread. For this one, we got 228 implied points, a 7.5 point spread. Detroit is the underdog in this situation. No surprise there. Detroit hasn't been a very good basketball team this season. So DAngelo Russell at 21.5 points. I'm over here on Number Fire. I've got the points column already highlighted. So let's hit Control F. Let's do a little search here for Russell. And you can see that his projected points are actually also at 21.5, meaning he's kind of a coin flip to go over or under on this 21.5 point prop. So let's move things along here. We're going to go over to NBA.com/players. Again, everything that I show you in today's video, all of these sites, all of these resources are completely free. If you have time, you can go and do this stuff yourself for any of the props that are on the board. And if you don't have time, well, I offer these videos for free. Plus, an extension of these videos is my Patreon group. If you want to join that, there's going to be a link down in the description below. Basically, I cover a lot more than I can cover in a 30-minute YouTube video for you guys over there. I put together spreadsheets with even more player props and stuff like that. So definitely worth checking it out. It helps me as a creator. You guys help to support the content that I make, and I can continue to make more and more of that stuff for you. So big thanks to anyone who ends up joining that. Now, let's type in DAngelo Russell's name. We control-click on his name. It opens up a new tab. And you can see that for the season, he is averaging 19.2 points per game, which is a bit lower than 21.5. Kind of in that neck of the woods, in that neighborhood of 21.5, but yet still below 21.5 points. Now, we know that the Detroit Pistons, in terms of guarding opposing point guards, have not been very good this season. So this is a pretty juicy matchup here for DAngelo Russell. So next thing we're going to do is change the season segment to the last 5 games. We're going to see how things have looked for him in that period. So he's played in all 5 games. He's averaging about 30 minutes. Now his scoring is at 18 points. So far, it looks like his projections are at 21.5. His season averages are at below 21.5, and his last 5 games are below 21.5. So all signs so far are pointing to the under for DAngelo Russell. So the last site that we're going to use here is rotowire.com. Now, I like RotoWire because they have a way for you to look across the industry here at various sports books, and you can kind of get a better idea of if the action's on the over or the under on these various player props. So we're going to type in DAngelo Russell's name, and you can see that there are 3 out of 4 books that have a prop up for him. So we've got him at -116 over. So a slight slight edge toward the over there, minus 120 on the over. And last but not least, a minus 120 on the over 21.5 points. So all three of the books that we can reference all have him going over 21.5 points, which goes against the fact that his averages are below 21.5, both for the season and for the last 5 games. And then, you know, his projections tonight were exactly 21.5. So, you know, it's going to be one of those games where it could go either way here. And when I don't see a super clear path, I either like to favor what Vegas thinks, you know, so the various sports books, I kind of lean on that. Or in this case, you know, you could always fade this. You don't have to play this pick. You could always walk away. So in this case, I probably would walk away from this one because I'm not seeing anything that makes it a super clear choice for me. It's not looking very obvious. So there you have it. Next guy I want to talk about is Duncan Robinson, who is at 12.5 points. I've got Duncan Robinson. Initial reaction is that he'll go under 12.5 points. Now, this guy, make no mistake about it, he hits a couple of threes. He can easily go over 12.5 points. He's taking on the Boston Celtics tonight, though. That game tips off at 7:40 p.m. So let's look at the game totals real quick. We've got 225 implied points. Boston is a 1.5 point underdog at home. So pretty decent total, healthy total. And the 1.5 point spread is not something that you should be worried about in terms of a blowout. So it looks like, according to the Vegas lines makers, that this game should stay close and competitive. So good news for us there. All right, so let's look into Duncan Robinson's projection today. Now he's at 12.3. 12.3 lends the idea that he could go closer to 12 points tonight versus 13. So the under is looking like a good way to go here based on this initial projection, but we're going to do our research a little further here together right here, right now, and we're going to open up the player card here for Duncan Robinson. You can see that for the season, he's scoring at 13.1 points per game. Now, 13.1, obviously more than 12.5. If we're looking to take the under here, that is a little bit of a knock against taking the under on Duncan Robinson. So let's click traditional splits. Let's go to advanced filters and change this and look at his last 5 games. All right, so over his last 5 games, he's played in all 5 of those, averaging 27 minutes per game. His scoring average is actually up at 15.4 points. So based on the research that I'm seeing so far, guys, his season averages and his 5-game averages, those are both going over 12.5 points, which is not a good sign if we were looking to take the under here on Duncan Robinson. So we got to do like we did for DAngelo Russell here. We're going to take a look at the various sports books. You can see he has a minus 121 to go under, a minus 120 to go under, minus 125 to go under, and last but not least on points bet, he's a minus 125 to go under there. So you got 4 different sports books, 4 different sources here where the action is favoring the under on this 12.5 points. So this is another one of those situations, much like DAngelo Russell, where the averages and the projections and the Vegas odds and stuff, they all don't agree here. So this could be one of those ones where it's a little hairy, a little dicey, and maybe, you know, if you don't feel super good about taking the under like the rest of the people out here on these various sports books, well, you know, you could always fade it. You could always go in a different direction. So I provide all this information for you so that you have an idea for the averages, you have an idea for how the action, the juice is flowing on these different props. But listen, if you don't like it, you don't have to play it, guys. You don't have to play it. So the next guy we're going to talk about here is Coby White, the Chicago Bulls point guard. Taking on the Brooklyn Nets, there should be a good amount of points scored in this one. This game tips off at 8:10 p.m. Over on PrizePicks, it's 16.5 points for Mr. Coby White. Let's take a look and see where this game total stacks up and the spreads and all that stuff. So let's go find this game. And there we go. We got 232 implied points. Very good amount of points here with just a 5-point spread, meaning guys like Coby White, Zach LaVine, Nikola Vucevic, Kevin Durant, Joe Harris, Kyrie Irving. All those guys should be playing a full run of minutes in this one. All right, so what type of game will this be for Coby White? Will this be one where he's scoring heavy, or is this going to be one of those games where he's more the assist man? We're going to take a look right now. All right, so out of the 3 points props, this one really catches my eye more than the others. So he's at 16.5 points over on PrizePicks, 15.1 over on NumberFire. So that is obviously a big differential there. 15.1 being quite a bit less than 16.5. So if we were to take the under here and he scores around 15 points, we would be happy campers because that would mean that he goes under and we make money. So let's type his name into NBA.com and further our research here. You can see for the season, he's scoring 15.2 points per game, still quite a bit lower than 16.5. So another good sign that Coby White under is probably a good way to go here. So let's look at his last 5 games. Hit run. And you can see that in his last 5 games, his scoring average is actually on the up and up at 19 points per game. Now, you just have to kind of ask yourself, is this going to be a situation where he plays closer to his 5-game averages or the season averages? We've got Vucevic, we've got Zach LaVine back. So this could be one of those games where he kind of reverts back to his season averages. I saw some other props out there that had his assists. They were liking his assists. So this could be a game where maybe Coby White is at a lower scoring output and maybe his assist output is a little bit higher. That's just the story that I've kind of pieced together looking at the various props for Coby White today. So let's type in Coby's name here and we'll look at the various sports books. We've got him at 16.5 across the board here. Not really seeing any action here. Here's a minus 118 for the under, minus 118 for the under, and last but not least, a minus 120 for the under. So 3 out of the 4 books like him to go under 16.5 points. We've got season averages that also agree that going under is a good way to go for Coby White in these points props. And we got a projection today that puts him quite a bit under 16.5 points. So if you trust those things, definitely take the under on Coby White. He's probably the one out of the 3 that I've researched here on today's video so far that I'm liking the most out of these 3-point props. All right, so with that one out of the way, we can move on to our next statistical category, and we're going to be talking about assists here. And the first guy I want to talk about plays for the Detroit Pistons. His name is Killian Hayes. And he's at 7.5 dimes today, not 7.5 assists. I'm looking to take the under here. And I think I was going to talk about Killian Hayes in one of my previous videos. By the time I got to the video, the lines makers at PrizePicks had already changed his prop. All right, so hopefully we get this one in time. If it's looking good, we can go and lock it in. So let's go find this Detroit-Minnesota game. You got 228 implied points like we mentioned before, 7.5 point spread. So let's take a look here and do a search for Killian Hayes. Now at 6.3 assists, that would indicate that we need to be targeting the under on 7.5 assists. If he dishes out 7 dimes or less, well, then we should be in good shape in terms of being on our way to making some cash. So let's go look at Killian Hayes and see how he's been dishing out the rock over the season and for his last 5 games. You can see his season averages for assists. He's at 5.2 assists. Now that's quite a few less than 7.5 assists. So we're going to go and look at his last 5 games, see if those numbers are going up or going down here. Let's run the report. All right, and in his last 5 games, he's appeared in 4 of those, playing over 29 minutes in that time span. And his assists are at exactly 7 assists. So good news for us, his projections, his season averages, and his last 5 game averages are all under 7.5. So I'm liking the way that this is shaping up so far. Looking like a very, very strong play here for Killian Hayes. So we click the magical assist button. It transports us right over here to the assist category. Now we're going to look here and see which sportsbooks have a prop up for him. 3 out of 4 of them do. So let's look at the ones that do. Obviously, minus 134, looking very strong there. Minus 125 on the under, and finally minus 120 on the under. So the 3 books that we can reference all have him going under 7.5 assists. Again, season averages, last 5 game averages, projections, everything has him going under 7.5 assists. So I'm locking it in. So far, I'm really liking Coby White under points, and I'm liking Killian Hayes under this assist prop of 7.5. All right, so with that one out of the way, we're going to talk another assist prop, and we've got Kimball Walker, Cardiac Kimba, taking on the Miami Heat at 7:40 p.m. Now we got him at 5.5 assists. Let's see if going under or over is looking like a good method here. So let's type in Kimball Walker's name. And you can see that he is exactly projected for 5.5 assists. So that puts him in a dead even tie here with PrizePicks, meaning it's kind of another coin flip situation where he could go over or under in this particular case. Let's see if we can build a case for going over or under for Kimball Walker here and get a better idea of which way we should be going. Let's open up his player card. And for the season, he's averaging 5 assists per game, which puts him under 5.5. So that's, what we'd like to see. If we're looking to take the under here, we could go 5 assists or less and make some money on this prop. So let's click the stats. Let's go look at his last 5 games and see how those shape up here. All right, so in the last 5 games, he's appeared in 3 of those games, averaging 34.5 minutes per game. Now, his scoring numbers are way up, 27.7 points. What isn't up, though, is his assist numbers at 4.3 assists. That puts him quite a bit under his season average of 5 assists. And even better for us, 4.3 is obviously a lot more less than 5.5 assists. So everything's looking good here. We've got season averages. We've got 5-game averages where his assist numbers are below 5.5. So things are trending downward, which is where we want to be because we're looking to take the under on this prop. So things are shaping up to be pretty good here for an under on Kimball Walker. All right. Last but not least, let's look at the sports books. We've got 3 different books to reference here. And we've got 5.5, not really seeing any over or under action here, but here we've got 5.5. Now he's at minus 125 for the under, and he's at minus 125 over here as well. So we got 2 out of the 3 books that we can reference with action on the under on 5.5 assists, plus the season averages and the last 5-game averages are also leading us to believe that 5.5 assists are too many and that we should be taking the under. So I'm sticking with it. Taking the under here on Kimball Walker in these 5.5 assists. I don't see any reason not to. All right, so with a couple of assist props out of the way, we can move on to rebounds. We got 3 more props to go. And the rebounds we're going to be talking about first and foremost are going to be Kevin Durant. Now we got Kevin Durant at 8.5 boards against this Chicago Bulls team. 8.5 to me sounded like a little bit too many for Mr. KD. So we're going to take a look here at the rebound column. And we'll type in Durant's name. Scroll on down here, and you can see that he is projected for 7.4 rebounds. Now, 7.4 obviously is under 8.5. So that means even if we were friendly and we rounded this up to 8 rebounds is less than 8.5 still, and we would get paid. So the under is looking like the way I want to go on this one. Let's move forward here and see if his season averages, and more importantly in his case, his last 5-game averages indicate if we should be going over or under on this prop. Now for the season, he's rebounding the ball at a 7.1 rebound per game clip, quite a bit under 8.5, so that is looking a-okay by me. But now let's go look at his last 5 games and run this report, see if that rebound number goes up or down from 7.1. All right, so he's appeared in 4 out of his last 5 games. Now he's playing big minutes here, over 39 minutes per game. During that time span, his rebounds are up. They are up to 9.8 rebounds per game. So that is an increase of nearly 3 rebounds over his 7.1 season average for rebounds. So there you have it for Kevin Durant and his averages. Now let's look at the various sports books and see where they've got Kevin Durant going tonight. So we type in KD's name, and we've got him at 8.5 across all 4 of our reference sites here. Minus 124 on the under, minus 140 on the under. Love to see that. Minus 128 and a minus 134. So seeing some strong action on the under on Kevin Durant and these 8.5 rebounds, which leads me to believe that going under might be the best way to go here. Maybe we take that 5-game average, we crumble up in a ball, we shoot it from downtown, and we forget that it even happened and just hope that he plays closer to his season averages. We've also got projections that favor the under in this case for Kevin Durant, so I'm sticking with it, guys. I think I'm going to ride the under in this case, even though those 5-game averages are a bit higher and they are trending upward. I'm going to take the under here and hope that he gets less than 9 rebounds in this matchup. All right, one other guy that I want to talk about is the guy right next to him, actually, Nikola Vucevic at 13.5 boards. That seems like an awfully high number of rebounds. So on 13.5 rebounds, I'm definitely looking to take the under in this one because I know that that is quite a bit more than where he's been at for the season. And I think it's more than where he's been at for the last 5 games. I could be wrong. Let's do the research together, though. So we're going to type in Vucevic. And wow, he is actually projected to be the highest rebounder on today's slate at 13.2 boards. Now, 13.2 is less than 13.5. So even if we were to take the under in this situation, he's closer to 13, which is where we need him to be. 13 boards or less, and we make some money on this prop. So let's move ahead here and look at the various averages, both for the season and for the last 5 games. All right, so there you go. For the season, much of these games were with the Orlando Magic. He's 11.6 rebounds per game, is way under 13.5. So that's looking good. Let's see if those averages go up or down when we look at his last 5 games. We want them to trend down because we are looking to take the under here. So we run that. Now in the last 5 games, he's appeared in 3 out of those 5. He's averaging 33 minutes per game, and his rebound numbers are actually up. 14.7 rebounds per game. Now, I don't think Tice is playing tonight. If I remember correctly, I think he's projected to possibly be out or questionable. That's one that you would definitely want to pay attention to, because if Tice is in, I think that cuts into Vucevic's rebound numbers a bit. But yeah, his last 5 games, his rebounds are up. So that's a little bit of a red flag. 14.7, obviously more than 13.5. And puts this prop into question, I would say. So let's move on. Let's look at the various sports books once again. Now he's at 13.5 across the industry today. We've got a minus 124 on the under, minus 124 again on the under, minus 139 on the under, and last but not least, minus 125 on the under. So we got 4 books here that agree that going under on 13.5 rebounds is probably a good bet here for Nikola Vucevic. On top of that, his projections were slightly under 13.5, not by much. I mean, it's still pretty close, but they were slightly under 13.5. On top of that, we've got season averages that put him under 13.5 rebounds, and really the only knock in this case is the fact that his last 5 games, his rebound numbers are starting to go up a little bit. So you just have to ask yourself, do the Brooklyn Nets have enough big men or enough rebounding prowess here to cut into Nikola Vucevic and keep him off the glass in this one? So that's what it really is going to come down to. All right, so with that one out of the way, we're going to talk PJ Washington, Charlotte Hornets, and we're not going to do rebounds for him. No, we're going to talk about his 3-point prop today. Now, his 3-pointers are at 2.5. And at 2.5, I think I'm looking to take the under on this prop. So let's do some homework here on PJ Washington. See how well he's been shooting it from beyond the arc for the season and his last 5 games and so on. So we'll type in his name. He is the only Washington in the NBA. All right, and then we'll click the stats. We got to dig a little deeper here to actually get to where we want to be on this one. And you can see that for the season, he's played 60 games, so big sample size. He's attempting 4.4 3-pointers per game, and in that time span, he has made 1.8 3-pointers per game for the season. So 1.8, quite a bit under 2.5. So that means that, even if he makes 2 or less, that we make money on this prop. So let's open up the season segment. We're going to change this to a 5-game filter and click run. All right, so over his last 5 games, he's appeared in 4 out of those last 5. His attempts are up to 6.5 3-point attempts per game in his last 4 games, and he's making 3.8 of those 3-pointers in his last 4. Now, I know LaMelo Ball has returned to the lineup here recently. Let me just look at some of his other season segments here. Let's run a 3-game season segment and see how that looks. Okay, so even in his last 3 games, he's making 4 3-point makes. What about his last 2? Last 2, he's at 3 3-point makes. And finally, let's just look at his last game here. 2. All right, so they are starting to trend downward in his 3-game sample size, 2-game sample size, and 1-game sample size. We went from like 4 makes to 3 makes to 2 makes. So maybe that's a good sign. Maybe things are starting to kind of come down here for PJ Washington. But all in all here, for the season, he is shooting less or making less than 2.5 3-point makes. But in his last 5 games, he is making slightly more than 2.5 3-point makes. So let's click the 3-point prop here We'll type in Washington's name. And across the board, we've got him at 2.5 3-point makes. Now, we're seeing some very strong action on the under across these 4 books. We got -139, -150, -149, and a -150. Now, with those kind of odds, I'm just going to take a shot here on PJ Washington. I'm not saying have 100% exposure to him. I'm not saying lock him into every one of your lineups over here on PrizePicks, but I am saying that he is worth a shot. Now, you know, his last few games, the last handful of games, he's shooting more than 2.5 or making more than 2.5 3-point makes per game. But the season averages look to be in our favor here. And so does the various sports books. So I'm going to take a shot definitely on PJ Washington under 2.5 3-point makes. But that's going to do it for today's video. You guys let me know which one of these props are you liking? Which ones are you not? Is there a prop that maybe I didn't get a chance to talk about that you really got your eyes on? Leave it down in the comments section below. You might help somebody out in the community and win them a few extra bucks tonight. This is CJ. Thanks for tuning in. Good luck tonight over on PrizePicks. And if you don't play on PrizePicks, promo code down at the bottom on the banner here. Go sign up on PrizePicks. Give them a shot. It's the only site that lets you mix and match sports that I know of. And it's the only site where you can miss a pick and still get paid if you flex your picks. So definitely a good way to go. Go play on PrizePicks tonight, and we'll catch you in the next video, guys. All right, peace.